The last listener. Sometimes, late at night, it feels as if the universe is not silent, as if somewhere far beyond the city lights and the noise of crowded streets, someone is quietly calling our name. And if you stare at the stars long enough, you may begin to hear that call. I met the boy at a station that did not exist on any map. At that time, I believed I had lost everything. I was flying through deep space aboard an old research vessel called Astra when a storm of cosmic dust destroyed the engine. One by one, the instruments went dark. The communication system died, and ahead of me stretched an endless silence. When the ship crash-landed, I thought I had arrived on a lifeless planet. But that night, I saw a light. It was faint, warm, alive. I walked toward it across silver-colored sand, and there, in the distance, stood a small station made of glass and metal. Inside it, a tree was growing, a real tree, and beside it sat a boy. He wore a long scarf the color of a sunset sky. In his hands was a cup of steaming tea, and he gazed out the window as though he were speaking with the stars. "You are late," he said calmly. "Late?" "Yes. I was waiting for you yesterday. I thought the boy was mad." But in that moment, I was far too lonely to argue. "Do you live here alone?" "No," he answered. "The stars live here with me." He said it so seriously that it sounded as though he were talking about neighbors. The station was called Orpheus. It had been drifting between planets for many years. "Who are you?" I asked. The boy thought for a moment. "Once people called me the Keeper of Lights, but now I am simply a listener." "A listener to what?" He lifted his eyes towards the ceiling. Silence. I smiled faintly. Then he suddenly asked, "Tell me, are adults always afraid of silence?" I wanted to answer no, but I realized that would not be true. People play music, so they do not hear their own thoughts. They fill their lives with endless conversations. They rush to work. They scroll through glowing screens. They buy things they do not need, anything to avoid being alone with themselves. "Maybe," I admitted. The boy nodded, as if he had known it all along. That is why they stopped hearing the stars. The next morning, he showed me around the station. One room was filled with flowers, another with old books, and in the center stood a great hall illuminated by thousands of lamps. Each lamp glowed with its own color: blue, golden, white, green. "What are these?" I asked. "Signals." "From where?" "From people." I looked at him in disbelief. "People do not send signals into space." "They do, every single day. They simply do not notice it." He walked toward one of the lamps. Its light was weak and trembling. "This belongs to a boy on Earth. He dreams of becoming an artist, but he is afraid people will laugh at him." Then he pointed at another. "And this one belongs to a woman from a frozen world far away. She smiles at everyone around her, but she has not felt happiness in years." "You are making this up." "No. Signals are born from hope, from loneliness, from love, from fear." Then he looked at me. "Your signal is here too." A strange coldness passed through me. "And what does it say?" The boy was silent for a moment. "It says you have spent a very long time searching for a place where you could feel alive again." I said nothing, because he was right. That evening, we sat beside the tree. Beyond the glass dome, the stars drifted slowly through the darkness. "Why are you here alone?" I asked. People stopped coming.
The story continues in a couple of minutes. Stay with me and listen to the very end.
Why? Because they are no longer interested in listening. They only want to speak. He plucked a leaf from the tree. Long ago, travelers crossed the galaxies in search of wonder. Now they travel only for profit. That is just how life works. No, the boy said softly. That is how adults decided to make it. Then he smiled. But children still know how to look at the sky the right way. And what is the right way? As if it were a miracle. On the third day, I was repairing the generator while the boys sat nearby asking strange questions. Why are people so afraid of making mistakes? Because mistakes are costly. But what if fear of mistakes makes them live the wrong life? I could not answer. After a while, he asked another question. Why do people always say, "I do not have time"? Because they have too many responsibilities. But if they spend all their time doing things, when do they actually live? He spoke so simply. Yet his words left something heavy inside me. Because somewhere deep down, I knew he was right again. That night, the station began to tremble. Sirens flashed red. Outside the windows, a stream of meteors ignited the darkness. What is happening? The boy looked at the instruments. A cosmic storm. Massive rocks were racing straight toward the station. I rushed toward the control panel. We need to start the engines immediately. But the boy remained calm. Are you not afraid? I am. Then why are you not panicking? He smiled. Fear is not the storm. The storm comes and goes. But panic stays inside a person long after the danger has passed. I remembered those words. We activated the protective shields. The station shook so violently that it seemed ready to break apart. And then, suddenly, the lights went out. Absolute darkness filled the station. Then I heard the boy's voice. Look out the window. Outside, among the chaos and the falling stones, one star was shining. Bright, still, unmoving. Do you see it? Yes. Even in the middle of a storm, there is always a light to guide you. When the storm finally ended, we sat in silence for a long time. Then the boy spoke. People think they become stronger when they stop feeling, but true strength is not losing the ability to love. How old are you? He shrugged. I do not know. Sometimes I feel older than the stars, and sometimes I feel as though I am only 7. A few days later, my ship was almost repaired, and strangely enough, I felt sad. I had grown used to the station, to the silence, to the tree beneath the glass dome, to the boy who asked questions no one could answer quickly. On the final evening, we sat beside the observation window. Will you ever return home? I asked. What is home? A place where someone is waiting for you. For a long moment, he stared at the stars. Then my home must be very far away. Why? Because no one has waited for me in a very long time. There was no sadness in his voice, only peace, and somehow that made it even harder to hear. Before I left, he handed me a small lantern. It was simple, old, worn by time. Why do I need this? When it becomes dark inside you, turn it on. I smiled. And it will help. No. But it will remind you that even the smallest light is stronger than complete darkness. Then he unexpectedly asked, tell me, why do adults so rarely say the words that truly matter? What words? I missed you. I am afraid to lose you. You matter to me. I remained silent. They think these things, he continued. But for some reason, they hide them. He looked directly into my eyes. And feelings hidden for too long become emptiness. I left the next morning. The station became smaller and smaller until it disappeared among the stars. But a strange feeling stayed with me, as though I had left behind a place more important than all the worlds I had ever known. When communication systems finally came back online, I returned to ordinary life, planets, flights, people, noise, urgent messages. But now, everything felt different. I began noticing things I had never seen before. The tired smiles people wear, the way children stare at the sky longer than adults do, the way lonely people pretend they do not need anyone. And I noticed something else too. Every person sends their own light into the world, even if they never realize it. One rainy night, I took out the lantern. The room was dark. Rain tapped softly against the window. I turned the lantern on. Its glow was weak, but somehow it immediately filled me with peace. And then I heard the boy's voice, as though it were traveling from somewhere deep in the universe. If the world feels too cold, become warmth for someone. If there is too much noise around you, Learn to listen. And if people have forgotten how to look at the stars, remind them that infinity still exists above them. I walked to the window. The sky was hidden behind heavy clouds, but somewhere beyond them, the stars were still there. And suddenly I understood. They never disappear, even when we cannot see them. Just like hope, just like kindness, just like love. Many years have passed since then. Sometimes people ask me whether the boy was real. And honestly, I never know how to answer, because one part of me believes he truly existed, and another part believes that perhaps the universe simply decided to speak to me one lonely night. But one thing I know for certain: if one evening you suddenly feel a strange silence around you, if you feel the urge to lift your eyes towards the sky, if among millions of stars it seems that one of them is looking directly at you, do not hurry away. Perhaps somewhere far beyond the darkness, a small listener is still sitting beside the glass window of his lonely station, waiting for humanity to learn how to hear the light again.
Thank you for listening to my story to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Watch it to the end and see the finished painting, which I also painted.